And one of the interactions that I've noticed with spirit is that it never gives you very clear instructions. It leaves a lot of wiggle room for you to figure it out. And again, please, all of this is just me being a witness to what I have experienced. I'm no guru. I don't have followers. I just want to share with the world that I've seen manifestations of the divine and the demonic that I cannot explain as a scientist. I've seen the laws of physics broken in front of me that I cannot explain as a scientist. And all I'm trying to tell the world is, listen, I don't care what you believe in. I don't care who you think is right. There's more to you that you can understand, and there's more to this reality that we all know. So just have the humbleness of heart to be open to the possibility that there may be something here beyond what we can comprehend, that we can measure, and that we can quantify. And to some of us, it's calling us to do something else than what we thought we were here to do.
Welcome, everyone, to the Spiritual Forum. I'm so glad you're here. I want to send a shout out to Terry for being a donor to the Spiritual Forum podcast, prayer and retreat ministry. Thank you very much. Anybody else who chooses to donate to this podcast, which is a voice of hope, inspiration, and awakening, you can do so at thespiritualforum.org. And check out my retreat at thespiritualforum.org/retreat. It is a whole planet spirituality retreat, and we are calling all people who are spiritually centered, animal loving, and planet minded. So that's a great intersection of people, and we're going to be at Unity Village this October 17th through the 20th. You can learn more at thespiritualforum.org/retreat. Now, let me introduce my guest. An unconventional truth seeker, SAVI is a spiritual explorer and author where he chronicles his profound adventures through the realms of consciousness and the metaphysical. A dreamer by choice, he has lived an extraordinary life marked by an unwavering quest for the ultimate truth. And the quest for the ultimate truth is the spiritual path. SAVI shares his experiences on personal trials and encounters with the divine in his book, The Journey Begins Within, to guide others toward their spiritual awakening and self-discovery. Welcome, SAVI.
Thank you for having me, Carol. It's a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time and allowing the forum for me to express it.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this conversation. Just to let everybody know, it took us a while to get things recording. We kind of feel like we're here to really share very powerful information about the spiritual realms, about the Holy Spirit and, the great mystery God. And when that happens, sometimes there's technical difficulties. So here we are. We made it on. SAVI, your whole book really chronicles your fantastical life with these divine encounters. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share with us just briefly some of your background and how you got to sharing this book, The Journey Begins Within, and your ministry.
Sure, very happy to. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, to a normal middle-class family. I went to Catholic school, but I never was a religious kind of type of person. And my studies were primarily, normal schooling. And then basically I got a master's in engineering and then an MBA from a top university here in the United States. For the past 30 years, I've been an executive of my own companies and have different roles. Spirituality and religion were never in my radar screen. In fact, there was a period of my life that I was deep trapped in what I call the matrix of life or this reality or simulation, whichever way you want to relate to it. And I was way, way away from anything that had to do with religion and God. But the Holy Spirit, God, the universe, whatever you believe in, it's okay. I'm not here to challenge anyone's belief. I've been shown that each religion has truth in it and each religion has lies because there's a human component to that. But like I always say, when people ask me, what is the best religion, is the one that brings us closest to God and opens your heart and you allow yourself to be loved and you become love for others. So my journey was a normal one, except that here and there it was peppered by events that I couldn't explain. Some of them metaphysical, some of them was the channeling or the spontaneous channeling of other persons, just out of nowhere started channeling the spirit in front of me. and telling me things and providing me guidance or support. And then throughout the journey, and the reason of the book is called The Journey Begins Within, is because at one point I had to start that journey. I had to say, okay, all of these things are happening. My life is not what I thought it was. These metaphysical events makes no sense. As a scientist, I cannot explain them. There has to be a greater truth. So my only claim, or the only thing that I consider myself to be sort of out of the norm, is that I've been a truth seeker. From a very young age, I could not tolerate lies and injustice. Those were the two things that burned a hole inside of me. Every single time I saw injustice, every single time that I felt somebody was lying, it was as if somebody was stabbing me. So there was some sort of inner compass that was putting me into the awareness of, hey, there's something more than you here. There's a bigger forces at play. And as I was being shown these forces, baby steps, because the spirit of God, whatever you want to call it, is very gentle. And it respects our, I would say, illusion of will, because at the end of the day, some of the things we sign up to live are completely out of our own will. We can talk about that a little bit later. And as this journey progressed, I opened more and more and more. I disidentified with what I thought I had to be, I had to do, who I needed to become, what society expected of me in every single role. And I even disidentified of all religions. I went around the world exploring different religious cults, different, I would say, aspects of different belief systems, trying to figure out, okay, why is it that in my religion, if you only are following this belief system, you are saved or redeemed, whereas everybody else will be condemned? It made no sense. If God was pure love and he created this whole universe and we were here to manifest and be an expression of his love, my logic brain would not allow for that kind of conundrum, right? So I kept on looking. That's when I was sort of divinely guided or inspired to adopt a different diet and lifestyle. And then the whole universe just opened up in my feet, and then bigger and bigger metaphysical experiences happened. And that brought me here today, where I have completely shed my old identity and tried to be an empty, clean vessel for whatever it is that's trying to come through me to serve me and the world. And, I'm by no means a saint. I'm by just a sinner, like would be considered a sinner like anybody else. But the irony of all of this is that it chose somebody with a scientific mind that didn't believe in God, that didn't want to be involved in religion, to have all these experiences. And I resisted it for 20-something years. I hid, in the shadows, trying nobody to know, always, keeping it to myself. And then eventually I said, after the last big manifestation that happened about 270 days ago in Greece, I said, I cannot die and the world not know that this is true. That what the Bible says is true. What other books say is true. Now, the reality is that you won't find the divine in any scripture anywhere, because the divine is a living entity, if you can call it that. It's pure consciousness, it's pure awareness, and resides everywhere for what I've been shown, including within us. So that's why the journey begins within, is you have to go inside of you to find it. It's only when you completely disidentify yourself from all your credences, from all your beliefs, from all your identities, from everything you think that you are, is that all of a sudden you hear a very, very, very little voice within you, once you calm your monkey brain, that starts speaking to you, and it shows itself to you as you're willing to let it show itself to you. And of course, people would say, okay, you're going crazy, have your head scanned. So I start asking for physical proof that I'm not going crazy. And the divine chose a spirit animal. So every time the Holy Spirit shows up, it says a dragonfly. The reason why in the book there's a dragonfly is because, hey, show me that I'm not going crazy. Show me that this presence that I'm feeling around me is real. And do it in a way that unequivocally I know that I have to be called to stage, and do whatever it is you want me to do in this moment. And the beautiful part is that this sort of indicators, if you may call them such, are seen by other people, not only me. So that gives me the comfort that it is that I'm not going crazy.
Well, I think you've just completely encapsulated the spiritual path and the challenges of it. I think it's fascinating that you said you hid in the shadows for 20 years or so, and this is not something that you asked for, and that you were a technical person, a logical person, a scientific person. I also identify with that. But also, though, you had some divine encounters at a very young age. And I thought that was really fascinating. And I don't know if your path is unique, if all of us can access all of this, but I feel like the spirit tapped you on your shoulder pretty young.
Yes, very, very much so. It was scary. Let's just put it that way. I think I was 6 years old, 6 or 7, and I was in one afternoon looking to the window. It was a cloudy day, and for the first time, I think I've experienced what I experienced during deep meditation, a total stillness within myself. And I was given a glance, like it normally happens, a glance of where I'm going to go in the future if I walk through the path, right? If I go through the journey. And this interesting interaction was, I remember just sitting there and I felt the presence. At the time, I didn't have a clue what was going on. I thought it was just something. And then I heard a voice, but the voice was coming from 360 degrees, and it wasn't my voice. And the voice said, "Today, I'm going to leave you and you will find me again." And I was like, who's talking? I started looking everywhere. My mom was in the kitchen. My dad wasn't in the house. I was like, I'm going crazy. What is it? So I intuitively, as a kid, I said, "Please, don't leave. Who are you? What are you?" Right? And one of the interactions that I've noticed with spirit is that it never gives you very clear instructions. It leaves a lot of wiggle room for you to figure it out. And I have to do probably with the aspect of free will, I assume. And again, please, all of this is just me being a witness to what I have experienced. I'm no guru. I don't have followers, I'm not a saint or any of that. I just want to share with the world that I've seen manifestations of the divine and the demonic that I cannot explain as a scientist. I've seen the laws of physics broken in front of me that I cannot explain as a scientist. And all I'm trying to tell the world is, listen, I don't care what you believe in. I don't care who you think is right. There's more to you that you can understand, and there's more to this reality that we all know. So just have the humbleness of heart to be open to the possibility that there may be something here beyond what we can comprehend, that we can measure, and that we can quantify. And to some of us, it's calling us to do something else than what we thought we were here to do. And that's the whole message of this book. So long story short, I asked that entity presence that obviously I was in Catholic school, so I wanted to know more about Jesus. I felt that entity or presence consent, and then it left. And I had no idea what I had signed up for the rest of my life. And I still don't, honestly, because he keeps opening up and showing me different things as I'm ready to embark. And I guess I overcome the logical fear of the unknown and the uncertainty of the path itself, and realize that most of it, there's no destiny per se. It's just a journey on its own that is what's worth it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I'm very curious. During your years when you were, kind of hiding out or hiding in the shadows and not necessarily answering this call, did you remember this event when you were 6? Is it something that you had repressed, or is it something that you had always kind of remembered and it was like tapping at your heart?
No, no, no. I did all these events as deep as I could in my subconscious mind, and I tried to make, I didn't see that. No, 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 that didn't happen. No, this is just me imagining things, and there's something wrong with me. I'm just going to forget about this and act normal. And that's why I kept in the shadows, right? And the more I hid it, the more the call it of some sorts happened, the bigger the event, but in a gentle way. Like the first things were direct channelings, random channelings of people. Like one day on the gym, I don't know if you want me just to jump to different things, but I
Sure.
was in Miami Beach, and some dude was drinking water in front of me, and all of a sudden I see the guy is not getting up, and he's vibrating like that, and drinking water. This dude was huge bodybuilder. I'm talking you like one of those that compete. And I wasn't about to tell him anything, and all of a sudden he just stands up, and I see his eyes are shot red, crying, saying, "God is telling me to tell you that he loves you very much." And I was coincidentally going through a very rough patch at that time. I mean, my life has been anything but easy, unfortunately. Probably if I would have accepted the path earlier, I would have gone through the lessons quicker, and most likely I would have not had to fight it so much. But events like this happen. It wasn't the only one. There's only so many that I want to include in the book. Some I want to keep to myself. But the truth of the matter is there was something out there seeking me out. And it was scary. I won't lie. It's really scary. And I had to muster the courage to start exploring that. And then obviously even more so to come out to the world and say, hey, by the way, all of these things took place. And it's funny, there's the reviews on Amazon, they're beautiful. I'm touching so many people's hearts and lives. But there was a lady that wrote, and I hope someday this message gets to her. She says, this is too much over the top, must be science fiction, but it's a very good book. And, I just, no, please, no. There's more to what I can say in the book. And I wish it was science fiction. It would have been easier.
Yeah, it is interesting. It does read a little like fiction in terms of it reminded me a little bit of the Celestine Prophecy. It wasn't that kind of adventure in Peru or wherever that book took place, but it was like, wow, wow, interesting experience after interesting experience. The story of the bodybuilder is interesting to me because it took some courage for him to convey that message to you. I mean, I would think if I got that message, or most people got that message, it'd be like, am I going to go talk to that person? I mean, I just got that message, and that seems crazy for me to go talk to this stranger and tell him that God loves him. And I think that it was so interesting that he didn't slough that off as some strange voice, and that didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, clearly he was so moved and touched by whatever it was he was experiencing that he was crying, and then he grabbed his things and left the gym, and I never saw him again, literally. So he probably was very embarrassed. But again, I shoved that under the rug and I kept on going, and I said, okay, whatever. I was, I think, in my early 30s. I'm on my 50s now.
Well, I'm going to read a quote from your book. It says, "We, the light workers, courageous souls who agreed to come to earth and manifest our Father's heaven through us as portals of love, are challenged to heal up to 7 generations of prior karma by sharing unconditional love and empathy." Is that what you think your calling is, or what you're being called to do? And are many of us being tapped right now, do you think?
Now we enter into what belief system we are in, right? Most of the writings of the book were channeled through me. In other words, I wasn't consciously seeking the words. This funny story about this book, let me give you a little side note for the viewer. I was never intending to write the book. I was going through, at the beginning of this year, through a challenging time where I had to relocate and I was moving and packing. And I had come from not following my own, what I call natural diet. And long story short, I did a 40-day juice fast. And during the first part of the juice fast, nothing happened. But as the juice fast progressed, my awareness and my consciousness expands. Generally, it's the case. It's one of the things that I mentioned in the book. And then I start getting what I call downloads of sorts, meaning I wake up 3, 4 in the morning and just information pops into my awareness. I guess that's the easiest way to convey it. But it's Gnostic wisdom. In other words, it's complete. There's no processing. It's not that I have to rationally interpret it. It comes to me as a form and a way that is complete. So none of that book was me consciously making an effort to write. So that was a letter that I actually wrote to a friend of mine, actually my girlfriend, because she was going through a challenging time. And the message was for her. And some of the things in that message were things of my own journey, that I recognized myself in her journey. Because at the end of the day, every soul that comes into our lives is a mirror. It's a mirror. Whatever we don't like on other people is what we don't like and identify in ourselves. And to make a long answer short, yes, many of us, I'm not unique to this journey at all, are being called for to step into the light and let the world be known that there is a living God, that we're all part of a much bigger cosmic plan, that there's a purpose to each other's life beyond what we can think the material aspects are. And this journey that we all agreed to embark to when we were created by the divine being, if you believe in reincarnation or not, it's irrelevant. In this lifetime on its own, and on its own, you came here to fulfill a purpose. And that purpose may change from individual to individual, but at its core, there's 3 pillars that I was shown are equal for everybody. And that is to learn unconditional love. And unconditional love to our own self and unconditional love to everybody else. And within that, it's like 2 sides of the same coin, right? Because as you progress in this journey, you will be revealed to you. It will be revealed to you that we all just but one. The consciousness that we share within each one of our individual beings is the consciousness of the divine. That's ultimately what you will discover. The ultimate truth is that all truth is subjective because we interpret it through our senses, through our state of mind, through our state of being, through our emotions. But the only constant in all the dimensions that you can aspire to get to know is the divine itself, because it's the creator of all those dimensions, and so is the creator of the universe. Now, let's just say, for example, you're agnostic like I was, or you're an atheist like other people are. Well, in certain aspects, like I said in the book, you could be the co-creator of your own self and still go into this journey trying to determine what am I identifying with, who am I, what I'm here for, and what it is my purpose. And the answer to those questions are going to lead you to the truth. You may just have to take a longer path, like I had to. But eventually you'll get to meet face to face with what the truth is, irregardless of your belief. That's the beauty of the truth. It doesn't matter what you believe or what I believe, what religion says, what other religion says. The ultimate truth, if you seek it, you'll find it.
Which is what Jesus said.
Don't go there.
Your response is?
We're gonna open a can of worms. I don't want to talk about religion because some people are gonna get very offended by the things I have to say. And then again, I cannot prove them, so I just want to remain as a witness of what I saw.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't think my listeners would be offended, but that's fine. I think what you said was interesting, that there's religions have their issues. They sure do. But do you think that religions do serve people? Or do you think they point you in the right direction?
Yeah. To a degree, yes. But anything that tries to control your free will and limits you is not divine, is man-made. So there is an aspect of each religion that confines your expression of a being. And that is not how you were created. You were created to experience the totality of your being. And you were given free will to be able to embody light, if you chose to, or embody darkness, if you chose to. And the whole point of the journey is to discover why you choose to embody light instead of darkness. And you're allowed to experience all the darkness you want, because that's the whole point of being here, is to be able to see the dichotomy between what intrinsically you know to be right and what's wrong, and what you cause on others if you do the wrong thing. That's the whole point of being alive, right? Is to experience the totality of the existence. And when something is trying to curtail you from doing that, it sort of puts some degree of barriers for you to express your being. Then to a degree that is restrictive, because how does a boy or a girl or someone experience learning a bicycle, to ride a bike? You fall, right? You got to fall several times until you don't need the learning wheels and you can go straight. Spirituality is the same. And I think of religion as the learning wheels you put on a bicycle when you're a kid and you're trying to figure out which way it's up and how to go straight. So is it right? Is it wrong? No, it just is. And then what you make of it is what matters.
Yeah, I completely get that. I appreciate your comments on that, your thoughts on that. I think that religion, I think you're right. Once anything is used to control and impact your will, our intuition should say, this is not God. This is not the holy path. There's something that is amiss here. Our intuition should tell us that. But I do think that a lot of thought systems, religions is one, that kind of tamps down that intuition so that your gut doesn't come forward and that those little spidey senses that say, wait a minute, this doesn't seem like God to me. This doesn't seem like the divine. And so instead, we have to follow these rules or follow these edicts or these ethics or whatever. And we lose touch with that intuitive sense of spirit within us that's really guiding us to the full experience.
Correct. And it's not only religion. I mean, it's not that they have the hegemonic, right to curtail us. It's the whole of society and the educational systems that we brought into, and the whole belief systems. Even the societal belief system is curtailing our self-expression in so many ways to perpetuate the standard, right? But nobody has stopped and say, hey, is this normal? Is this how we should be really living as human beings? Is this how we are meant to cooperate? And I can talk for hours about, the socioeconomic construct that I had to expand my awareness to free myself from, the norm and explore alternate means of existence.
Well, I think it's really important for us to notice and to awaken to this socioeconomic construct that we're in. I think you said somewhere that our relationship to reality, it matters. I mean, that's part of the spiritual path, is to recognize what is real. And maybe I'm pulling words out of your book that weren't there, but that's something that I feel like I've discerned. And I think you spend some time on those constructs, and we are in some kind of constructs. And the whole spiritual path, I think, or at least part of it, is to recognize that and wake up from that and make our own choices outside of everything that we've inherited. Everything that we've inherited, which includes our food, but it's more than that. It's everything. And the education system has taught us, move along this path, and then you can be great cogs in this wheels of this system that we've prepared for you.
Correct.
But we're being called out of that. We're being called to wake up and to create. I think you call it heaven, Father's heaven. You call it the Father's heaven. Do you believe that we're here to bring well, first of all, what do you think the Father's heaven is? And then after you share that, is that what we're here to create on earth at this stage in our history?
Thank you. The answer is, I don't know. Now, I can basically share my experiences and what I've been shown. And then from there, we can try to extrapolate what would that look like, right? I had certain divine encounters that transcends all kinds of logic, as I've shared towards the middle and last part of the book. Most of them have happened in the last 3 years. And when I'm talking about things that are unexplainable, I'm talking things that are unexplainable. Some of them are similar to some of the events that have happened in the Bible when, the apostles received the Holy Spirit. Well, I woke up at 4 a.m. with a halo of light of sorts, like a spotlight on my head 3 times. I literally looked and I couldn't see because of how blinding it was. And as the Spirit spoke and manifested itself, it had flashes of light and little sparkles in the room that came and go. And I thought I was going crazy. This is going crazy. What is this happening to me? I can't believe it. And basically, the things that the Spirit revealed was for me to become a choiceless observer and sit still and allow for the things to happen to me instead of me forcefully will my ego through life like I have been taught to do all my life. I've been taught to be a winner. I was a kind of A+, champion at this, best grades, work harder. I'm the smartest one. I'm going to push harder, do. And basically, we are not human doers. We are human beings. We came here to be, to experience, to embody, not to do. But since our childhood, we are indoctrinated that you're not worthy of anything unless you prove yourself to be worthy with the good grades, with the results, with the money you have, with the family you have, with the expensive watch, with the expensive car, with the trophies, with all of that. And somehow that's so ingrained in our mindset that unfortunately, I know many billionaires firsthand that I met through my career that they have such a gaping hole in their being with all the love and all the conditional respect for their journeys. I mean, what they've done is admirable. But the amount of pleasure I get from my humble economic stance to give to others what they don't have, they cannot experience with all the billions they have and all the money they give to the charities and the foundation, because they still haven't filled that gap within them. They're still trying to identify with their net worth, with all the belongings, with everything that's outside of them. That it's very merit. It has a lot of merit. I mean, clearly they have done great things for society. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against that. But they haven't experienced the ability to share with those who assisted them. And I'm talking about everybody that assisted them to create those companies, right? And if people were to live more in harmony with what I consider could be the new paradigm or socioeconomic paradigm, this structures will be more competitive. I don't believe in socialism, let's start that. I don't believe in populism. I come from a country that was being devastated for 9 years of populism. But I have experienced pure utter capitalism too in this country. And it's brutal. It's brutal because it has no means to provide for those that are not worthy. Because you didn't go to Ivy League school, because you didn't have the A+ grade, because maybe you're not as smart. But they're still human beings. They're still childs and daughters of God. They still deserve to be able to pay, for the roof, for their food, by having a job that merits them having a normal wage and not be left behind in society, right? So how do we go from capitalism to what I like to call conscious capitalism? Is creating a new structure where, yes, you have people that make more, of course. People need to make more according to the value they add. But also, for those making more, don't forget those who actually helped them get there. What that looks like is for all of us to figure out. I'm not here to change the world or to save the world. I'm just here to point at things that I see that, hey, that's not working right. How can we fix that? And I don't have the answers. By no means, I don't consider myself to have all the answers. All I have is sort of like a radar screen that I've been shown when God expanded my consciousness and said, listen, you see this is a lie now? What are you going to do about it? And I just sit there and suck my thumb because I'm like, I'm just one guy. What am I going to do about this? Let me write a book because clearly I need help. So we need a lot of conscious people to awaken to the reality that the overall economic system in the world is broken. And whatever it is, the paradigm shift that we need to embody, which I don't know what it is, we need to take care of everything that is not working right now. For me, it's not acceptable to have 650,000 people sleeping in the streets of one of the wealthiest nations in the world, or have 45 million people working 3 jobs and not being able to afford rent. I'm not an expert, but clearly that is not work, right?
Well, I think that what we see in the outer world, the constructs that we're in, are in large part a reflection of the consciousness that we are at. And so in order for us to create something else, we have to be at a different consciousness. So this awakening process is probably the most important thing that's going on in the planet right now, that we raise our consciousness. And I love that you are able to say, I don't know what it's going to look like, because we don't know what it's going to look like. But I do believe that when we do raise our consciousness and there's some critical mass of people with a higher consciousness, it will either be made clear to us, or we will just start organizing ourselves differently because we're at a different consciousness and the other one just didn't fit. So I think this consciousness business is the most important thing that we're doing. And I think that's what you've been called by Spirit to do or to be, is an example of raising our consciousness and showing the way of this the divine nature within us and who we can become. That's how I see it.
I totally agree with you, Carol. And just to add to what you just so eloquently stated, one of the awareness that I was brought to me through this journey was that we need to embody the change we want to see in the world. So whatever you don't like that's going on around you, whatever it is, in every single level, you need to change so you can bring what's missing around you. So for the longest time in my journey, I was always seeking outside of me the pieces that were missing within me. And I didn't realize how broken I was until I could see those pieces missing, right? Because of my, upbringing, the society, whatever it was, right? There was always something inside of me saying, hey, you're broken, you need this, you need to do that, you got to do better this, blah, 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 blah. And then Spirit one day just said, forget all of that. You don't need any of all of that. You're playing on a very small sandbox. Don't you realize that everything I created is already perfect and complete, including you, and you're just playing a game? And that basically kicked me off in this journey, right? And then I said, well, what can I do to others? I can tell them that I have divine manifestations, that God is real. I don't care in what religion you believe. I'm totally open to whatever you believe in. If you're a good person, you have a good heart, you love unconditionally, and you're a honest person and you don't lie and you're just being, more power to you. You're okay in my book. Let's put it that way. So stop identify. The issue, all the words, everything we have in society that is not working is because we start saying, I am something, right? And the moment that you raise your awareness to that I am something is literally writing something in a blank piece of paper that is determining who you come through in the world, and you drop those identities, then you allow your true essence, the spirit within you, whatever you want to call it, to manifest through you. And the hardest aspect for any human is to have the courage to say, I am not who I thought I was. There's more to me that I don't understand. What happens if I take away slowly and steadily every single identity that I ever had? Now, I came to that realization forcefully because I had no choice. I was put there by life, circumstances, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. In fact, I fought tooth and nail not to have to go through that journey. And I resisted all the way. And sometimes I still do, because believe me, I'm human, right? I mean, I have the same desires, the same aspirations, the same fears as everybody else that ever has been born and ever will be born. So I'm not special to any of them. But I guess my only claim to fame, like I say on my bio, is that I had the courage to say, you know what? What is it that is really me? Am I all these titles? Am I the money? Am I the belongings? Am I the roles I play in society? Who is driving this show within me? And I kept on going. I kept on going through fasting, meditation, prayer, contemplation. And that somebody one day decided to show up and told me that, hey, ta-da, you're not alone. And one of the things I noticed, and it could be a nice segue to one of the things you mentioned we want to talk about, is the diet. My life, I came from a carnivore family, traditional omnivore, I guess, from Argentina. I used to eat one steak a day and Italian pasta, cheese, dairy. So you name it, I would eat it. I was an avid fisherman. I never hunted big prey, but, we had a farm and I was taught how to, butcher animals by hand. And we would prepare them for family festivities and whatnot. So I was living the normal life that any sort of human predator, would live in what society taught us to be. And never once was I attracted to eating the dead flesh of an animal without processing or cooking it. But somehow I was indoctrinated that was supposed to be what I needed to live from. And I went through my whole life like that. And obviously got some issues with being too attached or even addicted to sugar, like most of us are, because sugar is addicted to heroin. So, you put a piece of cake in front of me and I will eat it. And this whole journey started taking me away from what I would consider anything that is man-made or that has some sort of man process that requires us to be able to eat it. And then by the, first principles method, I came to the realization and the logical conclusion that, hey, we are not aliens in this planet. We were either created or we evolved, whatever you believe in, it doesn't really matter, to be a part of this habitat. So like any other species within this habitat, there must be a natural food or substance for us to partake on. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care what your preferences are. I don't care what the science says. It's just pure logic. Listen, we come either because God created us like this, if you believe in that, or because some monkey evolved to become our species. It is irrelevant. The truth is that either way, there has to be a natural sustenance for us in this thing that we call planet Earth. And our DNA, our biology, on this natural state, should be able to provide everything our body requires. Now, I know a lot of naysayers are going to say, well, the soil is not the same, we have GMOs. I don't care. We're talking about abstract logic here, okay? There's excuses for everything in life. And if you just base yourself on the outliers, you never get to the core of the reality, right? So again, let's go to absolute truth. What is truth? Yes, we live in a planet that should be capable to self-sustain us without our interventions. How do we proceed to attach or require that substance? Our two hands, our 2 feet. So if we are capable of nourishing ourselves, it is logical that whatever nature provides, we should be capable of achieving that its consumption through the utilization of our hands and our feet. I think we can all agree to that because most of us have 2 feet and 2 hands, regardless of what your ideologies may be, your beliefs may be, and your identifications may be, right? So I started going down that path. And one day through one meditation, I think I share in the book, on a fast, a prolonged fast that I did, was one of my first prolonged fasts back in 2018 when I started going deeper into this journey. Spirit spoke and said, leave all animal products. And I think that was a Tuesday. By Friday, I was only eating fruits, vegetables, and trying to understand, because I knew nothing about any of these diets or any of this, kind of style of eating. And then my body started cleaning up. And the more my body cleaned up from all the toxins and everything that I would consume before made by men, the more the spirit showed itself and the more the connection strengthened. So the more my awareness expanded, the better my mood became, the more I flowed, the less I was stressed, the less I was depressed, the less I was anxious. And the more I cleaned myself by eating raw vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds, the more aware I became. And then the more downloads I would get, and the faster I would walk on that journey. And I did countless experiments of me switching back and forth. And inevitably, every time that I would eat cooked food, I would come down a notch. If I would eat, I cannot eat animal products anymore because I get sick now. My stomach gets really messed up. But I tried after 6 months on this journey when I started to go back and eating a steak, for example. And it was disgusting. I used to love steak. I used to, prepare. I was a grill master. I even have a patent. I won't say it, but I have a patent for grilling. And that it's the irony of all of this, right? Like here I am creating a grill, to bring to the American, the Argentinian style of grilling. And Spirit says, nah, you're not going to do that. You're going to stop eating cooked beef. So my journey is very interesting. It's very peculiar, full of sarcasm. But the story is that if we eat our natural substance, our awareness expands. I don't know when did we decide to disconnect from nature. When did our egos decided that we are better or know more than what nature has created for us? And we created this whole identity as to all this plethora of different diets with different names that everybody fights to see who's right, who's wrong. Listen, the truth is, yes, you can survive on a carnivore diet. Yes, you can eat animal products and you will have a somewhat normal life. You will have cardiovascular disease and you eventually die on your younger, aspects, 60, 50. And that's a crisis that goes on around the world. And yes, you can, live on cooked vegetables and cooked, products, and you can be vegetarian, you can be vegan, whatever you want to call it. And you probably have a better health profile. The truth is that we're all going to die. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you eat. You're all going to die. So my awareness was brought to, well, how can I pass away more peacefully? How can I embody the highest potential that this divinity, creator, the universe, or the DNA within me designed me for? And that led me to the study for 16 years of plant-based whole food diet, right? And I did countless experiments of N1 of myself, trying different things, supplements and whatnot. And every single time I had a study conducted on my body, on the clinics, the doctors there would say, in the history of the 60 years of the center, I never had such a better blood profile or results, clinical results than you, except somebody who was 7 years old. And I'm going like, oh, this works. And I repeated it in different places, right? And then I'm not one to mention names or anything, but the different centers that can actually measure your, I would say, bioenergy, your auras, and different other techniques that they have to measure the electrical field of the body. And they were surprised. And I keep telling everybody, hey, I'm not doing anything special. I mean, if anything, this last few years I have faulted to a degree because I've been slacking, and it takes a lot of discipline to do it this way. And, society and family and business always pulls you back into what I call the 3D world, the matrix, and you end up eating what you're not supposed to. But I also stopped, hitting myself in the back saying, oh, I faulted. No, unconditional love. I'm here to experience everything. Today I choose to eat this cake. I know very well the consequences that I'm going to get potentially anxious, that I'm going to get hooked on sugar, that I am going to probably descend from my awareness, and I'll be a zombie for the next week. But then if for the next week I only go back to my natural diet, I'll bounce back, and I'm okay with that, right? In this journey, I have experienced everything you can imagine. I had to confront, overcome, accept, reform, and embody something else. And, it hasn't been easy. It's not easy. And I would do it again, from the physical pain to the emotional pain and to all the hardships I've been through, to finally let go and allow the Spirit to show me the way. And I think everybody has the potential to do that. It's not that I'm special. I guess I was just singled out to be an example and tell them, hey, by the way, you may think God doesn't exist. Fine with you. You may think that what you're doing is right. Fine with you. But if you venture the other way and you embody light, there's a much bigger reward awaiting for you.
Yeah, there's a lot you just said. I want
I
to comment
know.
on a few
Sorry.
things. That's all right. That's all right. I don't want to lose some of this, but I do think it's really important that people know that because I think what can happen within a person and go, oh my gosh, he's special. I don't have that. He's special. And God's not talking to me that way. I'm not special. And I think it's really important for people to not walk away with that message. You have your own experience of the divine, of spirit showing itself to you. Others have their experience. And once we surrender to, I'm ready to unload who I thought I was, once we surrender, we will be shown our own journey and it will be just fine. It would be perfect. But I don't want to lose this whole thing about connecting to nature, because I think it's so interesting that the way we eat shows us how disconnected we are from nature. And I love how you lay out that we are a species on this planet and we would be designed to have a natural sustenance. And it makes a lot of sense. The case that you lay out, it makes so much sense. And once you start to realize this and you start to move towards this natural sustenance, which I know, I keep going back to Genesis. I know you don't want to go into certain religions, but the idea that we were, that plants and seeds are our natural diet, and I think our biology would show that as well. Once you start doing that, I love that you share how you have these amazing spiritual experiences, but also you start to look at some of the food that you've been eating, the food that's around you, and you go, that's not food. I started doing that. It's like, that's not food. Like that potato chip isn't food. I don't know what it is, but it's not food, even though we've been conditioned to believe that all of these things are food. And I think this is a real important part of the spiritual path, to bring us back to this natural sustenance and in alignment with our bodies, even though there are many, 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 many people out there that will say humans are different. Some of us flourish on different diets. But, no other species is that way. No other species is that way. Every species has a species-appropriate diet. Why wouldn't we? So I just want to say I really, really, really appreciate your bringing this forward, and also talking about how we don't dig into flesh like a carnivore does. We're not interested in that. And so even that idea, an awakening to that idea and going, maybe there's some truth to that. The fact that we don't like these things unless they're seasoned and cooked. Maybe there's some truth to that. I just invite people to explore the ideas that you've put forward about this, because I do think it helps. It's part of leading us back to our center. So thank you for all that.
No, imagine how hard of a journey it was for me coming from Argentina, eating a steak every day and going fishing and hunting. So really I had to do a very strong mental exercise to say, wait, this makes no sense. And again, and to reinforce your point, I am not special at all. In fact, there's people that's so much more special than I am in many, many fronts, smarter, stronger, wiser. There's plenty of gurus in the world. There's people that are channeling. There's people that had NDEs. All I am is a witness. And my engineering mind precludes me to be anything but a witness, because that's what we do. We observe, and we're always trying to figure things out. So my analytical mind forced me to ask all these questions. And then my sort of inner compass, call it, of seeking the truth and, not tolerating injustice, did the rest. And I guess I stumbled through all these discoveries. I stumbled through all these questions. And the book, all it is just to point others to ask themselves the questions. I am not here to dictate how anybody should believe in or how anybody should live their lives. I'm just here to say, listen, this has been my journey. By the way, this has happened and it's true. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that it can happen to me again because everything is an act of divine grace. So, why the Spirit chooses one versus the other and how the Spirit decides one is going to experience something or the other, I have no clue. And I'm okay with not knowing. That's the other important thing of this. Eventually you get to the realization that, hey, the whole point of the journey is not knowing. So stop fearing, start allowing, and just flow. If you're going to take away anything of all of this, is just trust the divine, surrender, and allow for it to manifest through you and around you, whatever it is that you sign up to experience. What you believe in, what you want to do, how you see yourself, it's irrelevant. It's really relevant. What are we in the history of the universe? Nothing. We're a speck of dust. We came from the dust, we live for a little bit, and then we go back to dust. And if you put that in the timeline of the world, I don't care, what your achievements are, you're nothing. You weren't here 1 billion years ago, and you won't be here 1 billion years from now, but the earth will still be here, an ecosystem most likely will still be here, and nobody will remember you. So clearly, we didn't come here to do so much outside of us as to do something within us. And if you start following that logic, then you start observing not so much what's going around you, but what's going inside of you. And like I call it the peeling of the onion. When you go to the core of the onion, what's there? Emptiness, nothingness. There's nothing left. That's where you find the divine. And that's where I found it. When I finally got to the core of my being, I realized that I was nothing, I was nobody, and all I was is a collection of ideas that were instilled in me from childbirth. And when I sat in that space, throughout meditation, throughout contemplation, or whatever you want to call it, and I discovered the emptiness within my being, I discovered total potentiality. Because that's what the divine is, total potentiality. It's the absolute, it's the everything. So in that emptiness, I realized that, whoa, I'm much more than what I thought I was. And that's where the journey really started. And then everything took off from there.
And I think that's ultimately what your message is to everyone, that we're all much more than we think we are. So you've gifted the world with your book and sharing your experiences. And I really appreciate the generosity of spirit that you have expressed through just sharing your journey and the truth, the ultimate truth, and to remind people of where to start, that it is within. So I know we're nearing our hour. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Fear is your greatest ally. That what you fear is an opportunity of expansion. Everything that you resist persists. So just sit still and allow everything to happen around you, because life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Wow, I feel like we could spend another hour on fear as your greatest ally. I think that's really so interesting. I'm not sure I've heard that before, because most people say there's either fear or love, but it sounds like what you may be saying is fear informs you. So just share really quickly how fear is your greatest ally.
It's a primitive compass that we have in us to alert us of where there may be danger or there may be something that's lacking. But behind that, you're going to realize that in the life that we live today in society, most of us, the fears that we have in our heads are self-constructed. But we fear that's going to happen, never happens. So we constantly living in fear and avoiding experiences or avoiding certain things that could potentially be mind expanding and life changing for the better, because of false evidence appearing real. That's what fear is. Mm-hmm. False evidence appearing real. And when you surmount the courage to go beyond your fear, which is what I did, and you start exploring and you become a seeker, an adventurer within the universe and within yourself, you start peeling away the onion. And don't be afraid of what you're going to find. Or even better, don't be afraid of what you're not going to find.
Thank you, SAVI. This has been a really great hour. I think it's been so interesting to get to know you. So I really appreciate you being on the show.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
And we'll have all of your links to your YouTube channel and your book and social media and anything else that you would like to share with my audience. I appreciate you again, and thank you everyone for listening. I think this has been such an uplifting and interesting hour, as Savi has shared, the real crux of the spiritual path and what it's all about. So thank you so much. And I now close the Spiritual Forum.